Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to our webinar. My name is Andrew Townsend. I'm with eLearning Brothers. Today we're going to be talking, we're going to be getting some advice from Dr. Baird on how to protect your position as an instructional designer. So it's going to be great, really exciting, and we're looking forward to having this discussion, and we hope that you guys will participate in that discussion. If you have questions during the webinar, if you would just like to participate, we'll be taking questions through that questions panel. It looks like some of you have already found it. Hello, and thanks for joining us. We have, like I said, Dr. Scott Baird, the founder of Griffin Hill and author of Be Brilliant. It's another thing that we'll be talking about, but he's with us today. Thank you so much, Dr. Baird, for joining us. And we're excited to hear what you have to say. Just so you know, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's just always awesome to be with eLearning Brothers. What a remarkable organization and a terrific gathering place for instructional designers. I love being with eLearning Brothers.
And we love being with you, Dr. Baird. We love having your Griffin Hill sales system inside of our customizable courseware, and we'll talk more about that in a moment, but we appreciate you taking the time. One of the things we like to do after the webinar is try to follow up as soon as possible. Sometimes it's just to get feedback. Most of the time we want to make sure that we're getting the one-on-one clarification to you that you may need about the webinar topic after the fact. Also, we're going to be giving everyone in attendance a free eLearning Brothers account if you don't already have one. So be checking your email for that. We'll get that sent out to you. There's lots of really cool assets in there, and a demo course for customizable courseware that you can dig in and see what's in there. All right, without further ado, I'll go ahead and turn the time over to you, Dr. Baird.
Oh, thank you, Andrew. Great to be with you. And again, we ought to acknowledge that we've got Chris Willis here, who is all things customizable courseware. Chris, you've been an instructional designer for at least 3 years.
An instructional designer. I have been I've worn the hat on and off of instructional designer, along with leading a courseware, a custom courseware development team for 23 years. So yes, I've had that hat and worked with many people who have worn that hat. So yes, well, thank you.
I said 3 years with tongue in cheek because you are so youthful. You couldn't possibly have done this for 23 years, but you've got a lot of experience. Just so that our audience understands as well, academically, I come from a place of instructional design. My PhD is in instructional psychology and technology. So this is really where my heart is. It's not what I get to do every day. I make my living as a human and organizational performance scientist. So it's the little bit broader scope than just being able to do instructional design work consistently all the time. But this is where my heart is. This is my tribe. I love the opportunity to be with instructional designers. But we think about this notion of human and organizational performance. And when we talk about human and organizational performance, for me, these become really the key fundamental roles for instructional designers. And because I come from this place, because this is my tribe, I really have some thoughts about making sure that you're advancing your career and developing it the way that you want to develop it, rather than being reactive in your career, being proactive in your career. And so those are some of the things that I thought might be good career directing advice as we talk today. Chris, your thoughts about that notion, protecting your position and growing your career. What are your thoughts about that generally as a topic?
I think that it's very important always for folks working in the instructional design field, because unfortunately, whenever things get tough in the world of budget, and companies are so budget conscious today, they're looking for what really matters. And anything that isn't perceived as really mattering to the business is at risk. And I think that's what you're talking about when you're talking about being proactive, seeing that on the front end and then taking steps to protect your role and the value of your role that you know you have in the organization, right?
Chris, you're spot on. So Andrew, if you can be a good moderator and represent the audience for us, we want the audience to ask questions about career guidance, about the direction. How do I take control of my career rather than simply be reactive to everything going on inside the organization? Be proactive about submitting questions, and Andrew will be a good moderator representing those questions. But I'm going to talk specifically about 3 pieces of advice today. Number 1, get strategic in your career. Focus on organizational strategy and organizational directions. Number 2, be proactive in your career and inside of your organization. And number 3, make sure that you know and use your resources. Leverage your resources to accomplish the work that you do. So let's start with who instructional designers are. Again, this is my tribe, so I like to think as instructional designers, we are a curious lot. We are eternal learners. We love learning. And because we have this love of learning, we love to create learning opportunities across a wide variety of topics, ideas, and genres that are stimulating to us. And so we want to share them with other people. We're, as a curious lot, I think you have to be the most intelligent people on the face of the earth. You have to know something about everything, and you have to have a hunger for that information and knowledge. And I think that's just a delightful place to be. In that role, one of the things that you have to make sure that we do is that you guide that curiosity, and that you guide that curiosity in ways that you can be economically advantaged by it. And inside the organization, that means, so there's number 1, get strategic. What matters most to your organization? What do you produce? What do you sell? How are you positioned in the marketplace? Well, we titled this Protect Your Position. That really comes from part of what we do in organizational and individual performance. Organizations exist for a purpose, and that purpose is to make money. And if they cannot make money, they stop existing as an organization. So generating revenue is the number 1 strategic contingency. Even if you are working inside of a nonprofit, if they cannot generate donations and revenue to support the cause, then they cease to exist as an organization. So as we think about protecting your position, when you can align your position with the organization's strategic objectives, then you protect yourselves. This whole notion of protecting your position comes from the work done by, we can think about all kinds of strategic positions and strategic people, but the work done by Sun Tzu in The Art of War is really just central here. If you have not read this, go get this. It's 13 simple chapters. Don't do one of the more esoteric versions of this. Get the James Clavell edited version of The Art of War by Sun Tzu. And the reason I recommend that, I've read a number of different versions of Sun Tzu's 13 chapters on The Art of War. Some of them are just so hard to follow that they make no sense at all. But the James Clavell edited version is a simple read. It distills these the essence of these 13 chapters by Sun Tzu so very well. But one of the quotes from Sun Tzu in the James Clavell edited version is, "Don't assume the enemy is not coming." So there's Chris's point. Don't assume that budget cutbacks or that head count reductions, don't assume a RIF is not coming. Don't assume the enemy is not coming. Rather, make your position unassailable. That when the RIF comes, when the budget cutbacks come, you will be untouchable because you've made yourself so valuable. And that happens by getting strategic. So when you can align your work with the organization's core strategy, it makes you unassailable. It makes your position and your work so desirable to your employer that they could not possibly include you in any kind of reduction of force. So that's where this topic comes from. As a human and organizational performance scientist, we really get central with an organization's core strategy. And when we think strategy, we're thinking making your position unassailable. So that's career advice number one. Yeah, Andrew.
So we do have a question here that kind of goes along with that from Anna. My question is about the rest of the business ignoring or placing the needs of instructional designers and training in general as a lower priority. It seems like sales and marketing always get more energy, money, attention, etc. Any insight on how to elevate your position, not just defend it?
Anna, brilliant question. And I love the way you articulated this, that sales, marketing. Tell me again, who gets all the revenue, Andrew, in Anna's question?
In her case, it is marketing and sales.
Yeah, marketing and sales get attention and revenue and protection from layoffs and headcount cuts and all of those kinds of things. Why? Because the number one strategic contingency for businesses is revenue. And that's what marketing proposes to do. That's what sales proposes to do. Here's the problem. There is a dark secret, Anna, that they don't tell you in marketing and sales. First of all, the sales vice president, look, I have to be really careful here because they're part of my tribe as well. As you know, we have authored the finest course for sales and sales development and sales training on the face of the earth. And it's available to you as customizable courseware through eLearning Brothers. Here's the problem. Sales vice presidents have to behave as though they are the most confident beings on the face of the earth. And sometimes their confidence, the way it's portrayed, the way it's exuded, comes across even as cocky and arrogant. The truth is, here's the dark secret, they are scared to death. They have to be brilliant every day in new ways to compete in the marketplace. And the organization so desperately needs them in order to compete in the marketplace that is ever evolving, that it makes them untouchable. They do get the attention and the revenue and the resources for exactly that reason. And so, Anna, my recommendation is rather than fight against that, be proactive and embrace it. Here's the problem. If you go to your sales vice president and say, hey, let me help you by designing courseware to train your salespeople and to keep them focused and in an ongoing way, developing their skill set as sellers, they won't treat you as credible. Because salespeople believe that unless you have been in sales yourself, unless you are in sales yourself, you can't possibly understand their world. You cannot possibly add anything of value to what they do. They are above you And there's again that cockiness and arrogance. Well, this is where that third recommendation comes into play, and it's the leveraging of your resources in terms of customizable courseware. Subject matter experts and expertise that went into the development of the customizable courseware that eLearning Brothers makes available to you. Let me tell you about some of the research that went into that. In the development of the Griffin Hill sales system, we did research with 3 different subject matter expert bodies. One is field research with salespeople. We used more than 3,500 different salespeople who were the top 1% of performers. In other words, we didn't just pick any salesperson. They had to be in the top 1% in their field in order to make it into the subject matter expertise that we relied on. Second, not only did we do interviews with them, what we learned from the interviews is that salespeople are unconsciously competent. They cannot tell you why they perform well. They can't describe to you what works or why it works. Now, they will try to, and they will be very confident in their belief about what makes them good. But Anna, the truth is they don't know. And the reason we know they don't know is all the answers from 3,500 different salespeople were in direct conflict with one another. There was nothing common about their belief in what makes them experts. So our field research with them meant we had to track them, follow them, observe their behavior, and catalog that behavior across 144,000 sales cases. Nearly 500,000 selling interactions in order to find out what is it that is common among experts, the top 1% of sellers. That's just one part. That's one group of the research, subject matter research that went into the development of the system. Second of all, it was buyers. We had to interview buyers and say, why do you buy from this top 1%? What makes them special to you? And then third of all, it's the scientific literature around persuasion and around high performance. So those 3 bodies come to play in this customizable courseware that Chris has developed through eLearning Brothers on sales and selling. So Chris, Anna, when I say get strategic, I mean go own the sales space. Go own the marketing space for your organization. Go to that sales vice president and say, I have more than 3,500 salespeople as subject matter experts in the course that is available to me. It includes more than 144,000 selling cases with nearly 500,000 selling interactions. And all of that research is available to me. I can bring that to our organization. Would you like to take a look? Anna, that's what I mean by get strategic. Go get aligned with sales. Go get aligned with marketing. Because when budget cuts come, developing salespeople, developing sales skill sets are not the places that they're going to be cut. When it gets more competitive, they need expertise at that level. Now, Chris, I want to defer to you just a little bit about this. I've defined, go rely on this great body of work that is available to you through eLearning Brothers. But Chris, maybe you could describe what you've done with the Griffin Hill sales system to make it accessible to every one of these instructional designers that are tuned in today in ways that'll help them to get strategic?
Well, I mean, talking specifically about customizable courseware, what we've done just briefly is we make it available in a way that gives you, as the people who have it, control of how you deliver the learning, how you customize it to meet your specific organizational goals and strategies, because you have everything there. I think one of the things that I want to cue in on, when I was listening to you, Dr. Scott, I was hearing one of the strategic things that IDs need to do is be able to articulate in terms of measurement and in terms of goals, in saying specifically, not we're going to get these 3,500 people trained, but I'm going to hypothesize that we're here and this is our current state, and by doing this training, we're going to see this shift. When you talk about your work in human performance technology, that's what it's all about, is that changing the behavior to see the results in the business, right? Now that's really, really difficult to measure, but there are things that we can look at in terms of measurement. Anna mentioned, why do sales and marketing get the budget? That's interesting to me. And I know that Dr. Scott, 20 years ago, marketing was not a budget holder. Marketing was not a budget holder because before we had technology that we have available to us now, where you could measure the results of marketing, marketing was just like training. It was a magic voodoo art. We think we're going to do this, we think we're going to do that, but now we have metrics to see what happens when we do those things. With customizable courseware and the other e-learning tools that you have now, we have things like XAPI, where we can put in metrics and measurements and actually see the behaviors that are coming out of our training. So be proactive about looking at how you're going to measure results and then tell that story and tie it back to the business. And that's the way you're going to get a seat at the table, right?
Chris, absolutely right. And this was specific right on for Anna. Anna, so get strategic. But the other thing Chris just said is be proactive. Go to marketing, go to sales, go to them and say, I have access to the most powerful resources to develop skill, to change behavior, and to elevate performance in the sales arena that has ever been invented. I have access to it. I can help you. I can be a resource to you. Rather than sit back and wait for somebody to come and say, I need a training on adverse workplace environment. Go be proactive and say, revenue is important to us. Developing our salespeople is important to us. Ensuring good behaviors and elevating performance in sales is important to us, and I can help. You may not think I can, but I've got access to 3,500 subject matter experts, 500,000 selling cases, and all the research that came out of that. I've got a system that can help you. Let me do that.
We have a couple comments that are right along.
Go ahead, Andrew. I'm sorry.
No, we've got a couple comments that are right along that. Israel says, I believe as long as we work together with all those profit departments, they will take us into account for all company objectives. We have to be a part of their decisions. Consider always the sales force has to be always more prepared and always continually training to become better. There's also a comment here for Chris. This one's from Connie. I'm the only instructional designer at my company, so there is not a lot of mentors or people who can advise me on how to further develop myself. I was wondering, what kind of things are offered by eLearning Brothers to help you become a better instructional designer and help you develop as an independent developer. So what are some of your thoughts on that, Chris?
Well, Chris, before you answer that, can I jump in? Because look, that was exactly in line with my third recommendation today, which is know and use your resources. And when we started this conversation today, I told you this is such a wonderful gathering of instructional designers. eLearning Brothers becomes a gathering place of instructional designers where you can exchange and gain mentoring. I had the great blessing of being at, Chris, your user conference just a few months ago, where you had people from all over instructional designers from all over the world there, gathered, exchanging ideas and thoughts. Even if you are the sole person, this is where connecting with eLearning Brothers gives you a tribe. It gives you a mechanism to get mentoring and exchange and resources that will be absolutely profound and powerful for you. So Chris, now you can jump in. But that's our third bit of advice today, is know and use your mentoring resources.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. And that's there's a quote that says, your network is your net worth. And that's one of my favorite quotes. And when you have your ELB account, you're going to get emails from us. You're going to get invited to webinars such as this one, where we cross a really wide range of topics. And I think that I'm sorry, I didn't catch the questioner's name, but Connie, was it Connie?
It is Connie, yep.
Connie, we at ELB are always thinking about folks like you. One of the things we talk about all the time is a lot of the folks who are our members, who buy our resources, who use our templates, are departments of one. And when we talk about how are we going to do a webinar, what kind of tools are we going to give these folks, or when we design customizable courseware, I'm thinking about you, Connie, and I'm thinking about when you give this in the classroom, it may be you giving this, or it may be your manager who is not a facilitator. So when we're designing this training, we're designing it and it says, say this and show this, and it goes with this slide, not because you're meant to read it word for word verbatim, but because it is a scaffold for you to stand on to lift you up to a level of presenter that you otherwise would not have been formally trained to be. I started out in the world as a tech writer. Actually, I started out, my degree was in writing and illustrating children's books and fiction writing. And then I transferred that into being a tech writer. And then I transferred that into writing scenarios, and those skills are transferred. More people come up into our world of instructional design through these varied backgrounds. A lot of us were folks that were working on the floor in the factory. Some of us were out working. I know many instructional designers come up in retail and they worked out in the floor in the stores. A lot of them, folks that end up become sales managers and they become sales trainers. So we are, as a tribe, all acutely aware that we stand on the shoulders of giants, but then we raise all the rest of you all up with us, and we have you in mind. We want to support you, and there are a great deal of resources, both paid and free resources, available to you through eLearning Brothers.
So Connie, what a great question. And as today our focus is on career advice. Get strategic, get proactive, know and use your resources. So think about this notion, Connie, of mentorship. Think about not only does the research that went into the creation of the Griffin Hill sales system as rich as I just described, but now as Chris and her team takes it, and turns it into customizable courseware through eLearning Brothers, all of that work represents mentoring of you. So that when you get access to customizable courseware from eLearning Brothers, first of all, it doesn't restrict you and your creativity and your ability to put your own stamp on it, but rather it represents this rich development of mentorship that has gone into it to give you ideas, suggestion, flexibility, power, so that all of that work, hundreds and hundreds of hours of work, is there and available, the foundation upon which you can express your creativity, your intellect, and put your stamp on it, so that when you take it to your organization, you get to raise your hand and say, I am brilliant. I helped move our sales revenue from X to 3X or 4X. I helped do that because of the ability to bring training and development to that revenue producing source. Connie, your insights are right on here. Get strategic, get proactive here, Connie. There's no reason not to be. And number 3, know and use your resources so that that mentoring can happen on an ongoing basis. So Andrew, I love these questions that are coming from the audience, because really it's all about you today. It's about growing your career and how to do that. If you've got questions about what does it mean to get strategic, or how can I get strategic better, or how do I get more proactive, or how do I know and use resources, get those questions to Andrew. Let him represent you, because this is just a rich opportunity for you to grow your own career and make your position unassailable.
On the topic of on the topic of resources, Frank, he has an idea. We're curious what your thoughts are. Is there a situation where a subject matter expert in a company would appreciate an invitation to lend their expertise to your course material?
Oh, you are so brilliant, Frank. You are exactly right. Here is your opportunity. And again, I'm going to go with, here's a place where, remember, frequently subject matter experts are unconsciously competent. So you want to be thoughtful about how you utilize a subject matter expert. They will be very confident that they know exactly how and why to do something. Doesn't mean that they are correct. So here's where you get to utilize an internal subject matter expert, and when you do this, you elevate them. You make them, this is the prestige play in sales. They want to be respected. They want to be honored. This is your opportunity, even as you get proactive with your sales vice president, your sales managers, as you put your stamp of creativity on the customizable courseware in sales. You get to take all the subject matter expertise that's already in there, and then honor your sales vice president or your sales manager or one of your top sellers and say, hey, help me put our unique stamp on this remarkable system by becoming a subject matter expert to me as I develop this out. When you do that, it elevates their prestige. It invites them to take ownership of the course, because now you collaboratively develop it. Frank, you are spot on. It's one of the ways to be strategic and to be proactive and to know and use your resource. Frank, you are brilliant. Nicely done. I love that recommendation, and you're spot on. Great job, Frank. And look, you are all, again, some of the most brilliant people on the face of the earth. Share your thoughts and ideas about those 3 ways to make your position unassailable. Don't assume the enemy is not coming. Don't make that assumption. That would be a fallacy, and that will eventually get you fired. Do not assume the enemy is not coming. Rather, make your position unassailable.
A question of nailing that unassailable principle of making sure that your position is showing value. Luke says, my boss doesn't see the value in ROI and the return on investment. As an internal training team, she believes that high survey and assessment scores are enough to prove our value. How important is equating training to monetary value, to showing that that ROI?
Chris, I'm way too opinionated on this one. I'll let you jump in first, and then I'll add.
Well, this is a little bit tough, and you have to know what is valued by the audience and the folks within your organization. I would say, in thinking this through, and I'm thinking about what Dr. Scott said and about making assumptions, certainly the individual who is in the position right now, who is the boss, if that is what that person cares about, that's really important to that person, and you need to make sure that they are seeing things in the way that they care about them. However, to Dr. Scott's first point, don't assume that that is what is important to the entire organization or important to your boss's boss or to the person that will ultimately be making cuts or making decisions about who moves forward and who moves up. I would say that it sounds like an underlying part of that question is a bit of concern that your immediate supervisor, your immediate boss, whoever that is, doesn't care about things that you know are important to the business. So your strategic play is going to need to be, how do you meet the needs and desires and communicate them to the person for whom those measurements, as far as whether they're bottoms in seats or results from assessments, are important. Yes, you need to do those. And I'm glad somebody's looking at them, because it's always terrible to be spending a lot of time doing something that nobody cares about, right? But don't assume that's where you stop. You need to continue to develop and move forward in the higher strategy within the business in any way that you can find to show that and to show its value and importance. You won't always be in the same role, and that same individual won't always be your leader.
You know, Chris, I think you were so diplomatic. You were so good. It helped me to not be able to say your boss is dead wrong. So I don't have to say that because you were so diplomatic and you did this well. Look, you're exactly right, Chris, that it starts with all of those other evidences, surveys and feedback and everything that we gather there. But you don't stop there, because it's not enough. You must take it to the next level. And if you don't know how to do this yet, I'll give you an example in just a minute, but go get the book, Be Brilliant, because it is all about drilling down. It's getting to the next level of understanding. It's targeted to salespeople, but it's really about critical thinking. That's what the book is all about. The book is about teaching salespeople how to be critical thinkers and how to stimulate critical thinking in their target audience, their suspects and their prospects. So it will be absolutely as powerful and productive for you to be able to do that as for them. And in fact, Andrew, I think we've got a free ebook that's the first 3 chapters of that book. I'm going to have Cameron get that link to you, and you can send it out to your people. Is that okay?
That'd be great.
And then anybody who wants the free ebook, just text Andrew, get me the free ebook. And it's really only the first 3 chapters of Be Brilliant, but it really is about critical thinking. Now, let me give you an example of what I mean. One of our customers, an insurance company, packaged their solutions, their insurance solutions, so that HR officers would be able to save time in processing claims. That's one of the benefits that they believed it offered. So in surveying, okay, did we save you time? Oh yeah, that was great. You saved us 20 hours per week. Well, great. So that looks really nice, and it looks like we accomplished our objective. My argument is that's only step one. Great. My next question is, what are you doing with that excess time? What are you doing with those 20 hours that we saved you? Well, we're doing this way cool initiative, and we think that it's going to help us to cut turnover. Oh, awesome. Tell me about turnover. Well, we're having turnover at rates that are 3 people per month higher than would be normal. And we're trying to solve that with this initiative. Awesome. Tell me, what does it cost you to hire, train, and develop a new employee? Costs us $20,000 for every one of those employees that are excess turnover. So you're telling me that you have excess turnover of 3 people per month at a cost of $20,000 per month. Did I get that right? Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's costing your company $60,000 per month in excess. Did I get that right? Exactly right. Wonderful. By us saving you 20 hours and you being able to impact turnover, how much do you think you're going to be able to impact on that turnover? Well, at least 1 person per month. Wonderful. So what you're telling me is that we're saving you $20,000 per year or per month, $240,000 per year. Did I get that right? Now you've taken that simple survey answer of yes, you did, you helped us save time, and you've turned it into a quantifiable, economic, strategic focused benefit. And now you can say, what would you do without me? Because I just saved you $240,000 per year. That's how you take a survey response and you drive it deeper, and the book Be Brilliant will help you to know how to do that. So if you want the first 3 chapters, they're free. Just text that to Andrew. Between Andrew and the president of our organization, we'll figure out how to get those to you. Is that true, Andrew?
We'll actually get it out to you in the follow-up email later today. We'll get it to you as soon as possible.
We're here to help. Griffin Hill, the company that I founded 30 years ago, and eLearning Brothers are here to help you. We've partnered on this webinar today because we care about your career position. So a great question. I would say surveys are a great start place. Chris made it clear it's not the end. And if you will learn that little mechanism available to you in the book Be Brilliant, you'll be able to drive it to ROI. Andrew, I hope that answered the question. We rambled long. And in fact, are we at a wrap-up place? Do you have a final question that you want to throw out, or are we to a place you need to wrap this up?
There's one last question here. I've decided there's one last question. I have to pick one. That's the hard part. Let's see. Let's see. I guess this is a good wrap-up question. So all in all, what skills should we walk away from this webinar with?
Chris, you jump in first, and then I'll follow.
So when I was listening to you, Dr. Scott, what I was hearing is that a reminder that in our organizations, we are all salespeople. We have constantly, every day as instructional designers, we have to sell our ideas. We have to sell our reason to exist. There's a fancy French term for that. I won't butcher it, but yes, we have to sell our reason for existence in the organization. We have to sell our desires and demands for the tools we need to do our job every day. So think of yourself as a salesperson, if that helps. how do you influence those decisions? How do you take a survey result and turn it into an ROI? How do you present the things that you need in a way that ties to the business and makes your case? And remember that. Remember, you are a salesperson. And I think that will help you position yourself and give you the tools you need to move forward. And certainly Dr. Scott's book, that puts that in a different perspective in its relevance to you. I think you will find it very helpful.
Chris, thank you. You're exactly right. So if we think about the skills you should walk away from this webinar with, again, maybe one of the mantras for instructional designers is valuable here, and that is, you don't learn to surf in the classroom. You don't learn to surf in a seminar. So we maybe didn't get you all the skill set that you would want, but there at least is a mindset. So maybe let me reframe it and say, here's a mindset that you should come away with, and it should influence the development of a skill set in you. And that mindset is, you ought to start thinking that sales and marketing are not bad words. It took me a while to understand that this is the #1 strategic contingency. I'd better embrace it if I'm going to have strategic impact. So a mindset shift. Think about what is most important to your organization, to their survival, to their growth, to their development. And in that mix, sales and selling is always a #1 strategic contingency. So first, mindset change. Get in the mindset of thinking about what is most important to the survival and growth of my enterprise. That's get strategic. #2, get in the mindset of not waiting for people to come and pound on your door and say, hey, I've got to have a new instructional something or other. I'm doing a presentation. Can you help me? I need it by tomorrow at 8 a.m. Rather than get in the mindset of being reactive to things that are thrust upon you, change that mindset to being proactive about how can I make a difference? How can I help my organization grow? Even when they are cocky, arrogant, confident, even then, how can I demonstrate that I can bring value? And how can I embrace that confidence to help put our stamp on customizable courseware, which is #3. Know and use the tools that are available to you to take advantage of the richness of subject matter expertise that you can't possibly tap, but that eLearning Brothers has the resources to tap and then make it available across what they're really doing is cost sharing. They'll take the burden of that cost on them, and then they'll spread it among thousands of independent instructional designers so that you can afford things that you would otherwise never be able to afford. And that is know and use your resources. So maybe not all the way to a skill set, but I hope we've influenced a mindset that will help you to go to work on a skill set that will make your position unassailable. That's my hope for you today. And we're always available at Griffin Hill to be a resource to you, not just with sales and selling, but leadership. How do we empower leaders in our organization? How do we stimulate employee engagement? So there is a richness here that we're willing to be part of. Maybe, Andrew, in your follow-up, you could just give them some Griffin Hill contact information as well.
Absolutely, we'll do that. In fact, let me pop this up on the screen. So here you can schedule a free demo to see what all of this sales system customizable courseware talk is about. We'd love to give you a demo and walk you through that. In a couple hours, I will send out a copy of this webinar, a video copy, to each of you that have attended. And we'll also include links to Griffin Hill. We'll include links to the book, To Be Brilliant. We'll include links to some of these materials so that you have those today. By the end of today, you will have that information. So yeah, all that information is there without you doing anything. If you want to see more, give us a call, 801-796-2767. Send us an email at info@elearningbrothers.com, or just scout around on your own at elearningbrothers.com, and we'd love to showcase. Our whole goal, Dr. Baird said it, he said it a little bit differently, but our goal is to make you an e-learning rock star. We just want you to be the best you can be. So give us a call, send us an email, visit our site, see what we can do. See what we can do to help you be better. Thank you so much, Dr. Baird, for your time and this amazing information. Thanks, Chris, for your time as well. And thanks, everybody, for attending. We'll see you next time.
Thanks. Bye-bye.